Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Welcome back to another episode of the Justin Dunning Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Dunning, and I am in studio solo today, just as promised. You got to excuse my voice because I was yelling at the game this weekend, and I kind of lost my voice, and it's kind of messed up still. So what I'm gonna do today, we posted a Q&A thing on the podcast page on Twitter, also on Instagram, and also on a couple of forums. And so we gave people an opportunity to send in a couple questions, anything you wanted answered. I said they can be personal questions or they can be, football related or sports related, and we're going to answer everything. So, yeah, we got about 30 questions. I'm going to run through these questions real quick and give you guys the answers you've been wanting. And, yeah. So the first question came from Twitter. That's what I said? Twitter. So this first question came from Twitter from Linda Lawrence. She wanted to know, as an Aggie football player, what is a typical day like? Do the players get a good night's sleep before game day? Okay, Linda, so a typical day is going to vary depending on what time of the year you're in. If you're in the spring, you're going to have a lot more free time than you're going to have in the fall. So I'm assuming that you're asking about the fall because you asked about game day. So in the fall, a typical day, say a Tuesday, you're going to wake up in the morning and get probably a workout in. And so you're going to get a workout probably from 6 a.m. to 7 or 8 a.m. After that, you're going to have an opportunity to maybe take a break, maybe go to class. After class, you're going to probably get some lunch, probably around 11 or so. After lunch, you're probably going to have a little bit of time to relax. For me, that was probably from like 11 or from 12 to roughly 1:30 or 2. After that, you're getting taped up and getting ready for meetings. You're getting ready for meetings at probably around 3:30. You go straight from meetings to practice, from practice to shower, and then you get some treatment, and then from treatment you go to, you go home. And so during the season you're probably up from 6 or 7 a.m. until 9 at night. And so it's a pretty packed day. In the spring it differs just a little bit, but just kind of minus the meetings or subtract the meeting time a little bit and take out the practice if it's not in spring football. All right, next question came from Twitter, also from Tony Morgan. Tony wanted to know, he said, I've been writing a paper this semester about the transfer rules in NCAA athletics, specifically D1 revenue-generating sports. Do you believe you should have to sit out a year if you transfer elsewhere? Or do you believe you should transfer, say, one time without sitting out if you meet certain requirements? That is a very good question, Tony, because I have a kind of a weird opinion on that. First off, I'm a big fan of this new redshirt rule. And the new redshirt rule says if you play under 4 games, then you're able to retain a redshirt season. I think that kind of correlates with the transfer rule because, if you're able to redshirt, you can transfer somewhere else and play. And so, kind of with football right now, if you transfer to a major program, if you're not graduated, so if you're not a grad transfer, then you have to sit out for a year. And I agree with that rule. This is what I think should happen. Depending on the reason that you're transferring, I feel like you should be able to play. So if it's some family issues or something like that and you're transferring out, or it's a problem within the coaching staff, or it's a problem that you're having with the program itself, I believe you should be able to play. But if you're transferring for playing time or anything else like that, I kind of like the transfer rule how it is right now. I know it kind of differs from sport to sport, but for your paper, you can add it, in my opinion, on there and say that, depending on the reason that you're transferring, you should be able to play right away. Yeah, you should be able to play right away. All right, next question from Reed Powell, also on Twitter. How do fans on social media and around town affect player performance? Also, is there a tweet or fan interaction that has stuck with you to this day? I talked about this a little bit on my last, or 2 podcasts ago, and I said that, we obviously hear what the guys around town are saying. Nobody's immune to that. We obviously hear what people are saying on Twitter and social media and things like that. Because, Twitter is a platform that's created a voice for every single person in the world, and they want to go out there and express that voice. And so we obviously exposed to that. For example, I remember a moment that really stood out to me, for example, was not my freshman year, last year, 2017 versus UCLA. Really bad game. I talked to Travion about it last week. Really bad game for us. Obviously blew a 31-point lead or whatever it was. And we had a lot of people that were just, condemning us on social media. People were just like ripping into us on Twitter. And it was pretty ridiculous, man. And so I obviously saw all that, and it was just kind of embarrassing for me. And I know we're not supposed to feed into that, but we obviously see it. And so that was kind of the biggest interaction I've seen with the media that kind of, impacted me. I didn't let it affect my play or anything. I don't think the team let it affect us at all, but we obviously seen it. And as much as we want the fans to contribute, because the fans contribute so much to us in terms of energy, if we mess up on something, players don't really need to hear your opinion on how to fix it. Because 9 times out of 10, they've already told themselves that, and their coaches already told them that. So, I'm not going to rant on that too long, but the negative opinions are not necessary, and I talked about that already. So, next question. Jason Richards on Twitter, he said that, how do you feel about Jonas Satamo carrying the torch for Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca? I don't think Chewie has been stronger as a character. All right, so you guys are probably not going to like this, but I actually have not watched much Star Wars. I watched the past 2 movies, which I believe that you're referring to. In Jonas Satamo, he was Chewbacca in those past 2 movies. If that's correct, The Last Jedi, 2017, and this past one that came out this year. Watched both of those. And so if he was the actor in that, then I'm going to have to say that he did a very good job. But besides that, I didn't watch any of the older movies. So, sorry about that. Please forgive me. Next question from Vicky Handel. I'm sorry if I said your name incorrectly. On Twitter, she said, how does it feel when you graduate and the view is different? There's kind of some typos in here. As well as no more control during the game of play. Now you're a 12th man ready like other fans. Because as a fan, I have difficulty not seeing you play. Do you have that same sadness? Okay, so I'm guessing you're asking, how does it feel not being able to control things at the games? And what is it like, kind of sitting in the stands and not playing? And do I have that same sadness too? So I'm going to say at times, Vicky, it was really rough at first. My transition, like I kind of described already, it was kind of rough at the very beginning, getting away from sports. It got towards the summer when I started doing different things with the radio and with Northwestern Mutual. I was doing my internship. Things started to kind of ease up for me there. And so it started to get a little bit better. But as the season came along and, it was finally time for guys to go out there and play, it got rough again. And, that was when I kind of was missing it. And I was like, man, I wish I could be out there with those guys contributing big time games. The Clemson moment we had, we had a chance to win. We felt the energy in the stadium in the fourth quarter. It's like, man, I wanted to be out there. And I think the more that I've done outside of that, so I got the podcast now, and you guys have been tremendously supportive of this, and now guys are recognizing me for this. And so it's been a lot easier. But I mean, I still love the game of football. And so I still miss it, obviously. Probably not as much as I used to at the beginning of the season, but I still miss it. On Twitter, Wade Hill wants to know, why ain't I on the pod yet? Hey, Wade, man, we got a lot of guests, man, coming in and out, got a guest list. How about this, man? I'll put you on the guest list, and we'll get you on whenever we get a chance. How about that, man? This guy wanted me to ask this question anonymously, but who is A&M's funniest freshman? Man, I haven't been around many of the freshmen on the A&M scene this year, but Jordan Moore, hey, shout out Jordan Moore, that's my guy. Hey, Jordan, they were on here clowning you on the show, but, I think you're a funny dude to be around, man, most definitely. So I got to get at Jordan Moore. Zach Mondi on Twitter wanted to know, what are the reasons why you chose Texas A&M? It was a couple reasons, man. So I got offered by A&M my sophomore year during the summer. Early in my junior year, I tore my ACL. So second game of the season, tore my ACL, and I was done for the season. And so Coach Sumlin was the first coach to talk to me. I tell the story all the time. Coach Sumlin was the first coach to hit me up after I tore my ACL, and he wanted to let me know that I'm the same player that he thought I was, and he wanted me to be a part of the family. And for me, that meant a lot because it was genuine. And we're trapped I feel like we're in a world, especially when it comes to recruiting nowadays. We're in a world where coaches will tell you anything to get you to their school. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear. And, for me, whenever Coach Sumlin came to me and he said that, look, you're the same guy we thought you were, that was genuine. And so that, coupled in with the fact that this is the SEC, I remember being on a specific recruiting visit, and I was at a football game, and I remember Armani Watts. This was my sophomore year. Armani was a recruit as well. And me and Armani was sitting in the stadium, and, we were just – it might have been an Alabama game, matter of fact, big-time experience. But we were sitting we were on the sideline, and Armani, he looked over at me. He was like, look at this, man. He was like, "Why wouldn't you want to play for this, man?" And it was, you could feel the energy in the stadium, and we're standing next to each other yelling, like, "Why wouldn't you want to play for this, man?" You know, because it's loud in there, obviously, and just the feeling that you get when you're in Aggie land, the pride that we take in ourselves is something that I really applaud. And I mean, it was just a really special place to be, and I think you can feel that when you walk in the city. So yeah. Let me see. At JSummy1 on Twitter wants to know, what is the hardest workouts y'all did? That's kind of a tough question, because it was kind of a combination of things. I would say, my freshman year, it wasn't a specific workout, but kind of an order in which we did workouts. My sophomore year was a little different. We did a workout in the morning, and we did a team run in the afternoon. And my freshman year, what we did, we used to always lift right before and then go run directly after that. And so I think Wednesday was the day we did a heavy leg day in the off season, and then went over and ran directly after that. And I remember we used to always do back squat, power clean, hang clean. We're doing all this back stuff, and my back is just getting really, really tight. And so, then we're going directly over and we're running like hundreds after. And so for me, that was my worst experience in the off season. We had to go do that, and it was rough, man. We out there doing all this leg stuff. My back is so tight. I'm out there barely lifting my legs up. I'm trying to run freaking hundreds, man. It was rough. That's probably the worst. He also wanted to know, how often do fights happen at practice? I think within the context of football, on the field, it's an aggressive game. There's not, too many fights that actually carry over off the field. But I mean, during plays, guys tussle all the time. That's part of the game, man. But best player you ever played against? Best player I played against. Man, I played against a lot of good guys in high school. I think Greg Ward. My sophomore year, I played against Greg Ward, who was the quarterback at John Tyler, and then he went on to play at Houston, and he dominated at quarterback over there. They tried to have him at receiver at first, but he came back to quarterback, and I was just calling, man, and he dominated. And so, my sophomore year, he was like a senior, trying to pick on a little sophomore out there, and he was a really great player, probably the best I played against in high school. All right, moving on to Instagram, Devin Morris, my guy. He wants to know, why do you look like a constipated owl? Devin, come on, baby. You don't want to get this popping, baby. Come on. All right, so at Aggie Rogue on TexAgs, he wants to know, not sure if you're allowed to comment on recruits, but have you had a chance to look at the two safeties in our 2019 class? And if so, what do you think about them? I've enjoyed your podcast. #giggle. All right, so yeah, I am allowed to comment on recruiting. I can pretty much say what I want to, but I have not looked at much recruiting. The two safeties, correct me if I'm wrong, but Brian Williams, if he's one of them, I've known him for quite some time. I think he's a really talented player. Besides that, I really haven't looked at the class much. I probably need to, and I probably will once the season's over. But I get so caught up in what's going on right now, the current guys, and I don't look at recruiting as much as probably as much as I should. Next question. All right, can you share more about what was going on with Kyler and Kyle Allen's situation? What was it like as a defense to see the dysfunction, and did you see that coming? That's at No Soup for You. Okay, so I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about the situation. You all heard it was dysfunctional, miscommunication between the players and the coaches and that whole thing. I'll kind of answer about what it was like to see that as a defense. Obviously, I think there was a lot of guys on the team that were divided between certain players. Me personally, I came in with Kyler. We were good friends, my freshman year, and so that was my guy. I didn't really see it as dysfunctional. At the time, I really just saw it as competition up until it got to the very end. And so it got to the very end, and our guys are departing. Kind of just a really, really messy situation. I think could have been handled a lot better. So I'm not going to comment too much on that. Just kind of a really messy situation. And that's kind of how the defense viewed it. All right, next question. How much does a DC scheme matter compared to experience or what your individual position coaches are teaching you? Which has an overall greater impact on how well the defense plays? Wow, that is a very, very, very good question. I think it is a combination, but I'm going to lean more towards the defensive scheme, okay? And let me go defensive coordinator specifically, because it's a lot more than just scheme. People talk about the X's and O's versus the Jimmys and Joes. But I'm gonna throw another one out there and say this defensive coordinator's ability to make in-game adjustments. That's another huge, huge part of the game because you can draw up whatever you want throughout the week. And, coaches can coach their players to the fullest. I've been around some fantastic position coaches, okay? They can coach the players up to be very successful, to be very good players, to be to a T on how they perform every single task. And the defensive scheme can be fantastic. Everybody knows their assignments. Everything's great. You grow out the perfect game plan for these people heading into the game. But you get out there, now they're throwing stuff at you never seen before. Now it's like, man, okay, I got to adjust to this. What am I going to do to this? And so that defensive coordinator's ability to adjust to the game. If I'm a head coach, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking for. How is he going to adjust in the game? Okay, have you ever hosted a recruit? Any surprises or losses for guys you tried to get to A&M at No Soup for You? And how did it go? So, matter of fact, I forgot to give Matt Owander a shout out for that last question. But anyways, No Soup for You. Yes, I've hosted a couple recruits. I've hosted a couple guys who are on the team right now. I hosted Chuck Oliver and Trayvon Fuller. Another guy who I hosted, this is kind of a funny story. A guy I hosted my freshman year who I wasn't supposed to host, but got kind of threw into my lap by default. Brandon Jones, who ended up at Texas. So Brandon Jones was hosted by Dalen. Dalen Mack is being lazy, okay? And this is Saturday night after a game. Dalen Mack's being lazy. And so he dumps his recruit off at my house. Me and B. Jones, we're all from East Texas, so we've been cool since way back when. Used to run track against each other and whatnot. So, I'm hosting Brandon. We do whatever. We have a good time, have a great time. And so that was a really, really big surprise for me because, he kind of told both of us, yeah, bro, I'm coming to A&M, bro. This is the place to be. This is where I want to be, bro. And y'all like my brothers and this and that. And so, I'm thinking Brandon Jones is coming here to play at Texas A&M. And I'm even texting this man a couple of days before signing day, because we've been cool since way back. Like I said, we've been texting, talking about it, whatever. I'm like, look, man, I'm proud of you, whatever decision you make, regardless, because I'm going to root for my East Texas boys. And so that was a really big surprise that he did not come here. Obviously he's happy at Texas and he's doing whatever he wants to over there. I wish my guy would have came here. That was a big surprise. So next question, also from No Soup for You. He wants to know, what was it like to play alongside Myles Garrett? Did everyone know that he was super special? Yes, everybody knew Myles Garrett was special. Let me just say that. So Myles, man, actually funny story about this with Myles. Myles was a unique cat, okay? I remember it was my sophomore year when I was hurt out for the season. So while the team was practicing, we did a segment called Muscle Beach. And so what they did, they took all the injured guys over to the weight room and we would lift. We would get our swole on, curls, push-ups, on the ropes, everything. And so there was this 1 week Myles tweaked his ankle pretty bad. And so we're over at Muscle Beach and, we're over there lifting the whole week. I'm talking like Monday through Thursday. The dude's like in a boot, barely walking around. I'm over there chopping up. I'm like, dang, Myles, you got to miss this week, yada, yada, yada. And, we're over there the whole week just lifting. And so the game comes on Saturday. I'm out there on the sideline, and all the injured guys kind of get together. We kind of hang out, we don't want to get in anybody else's way. I'm looking around looking for Myles. I'm like, where did Myles go? And I kid you not, the ball snaps in the first quarter, and Myles is out there on the field playing. I'm like, hold on, bro. You were with me the whole week during Muscle Beach. I'm talking like could barely walk, and now you're out here playing on Saturday. How is this possible? Just a different breed of dude, man. Obviously the combination of speed and athleticism, just a freak, man. It looks like a freaking animal out there on the field, and really humble dude to be around. Great dude, great teammate, man. Great person to be around. Next question from No Soup for You. What players were the best teammates that help with team culture? To answer that, let me just go and say, a couple guys you guys might not recognize, but Alex Caesar was a guy I played with very early on who really helped instill team culture and the values into the team. And he was a great leader for guys on and off the field. He played a lot my sophomore year, maybe not so much my freshman year, played a lot sophomore year, and, had a really big impact on a lot of guys, great leader. Another guy that you guys do know, Connor McQueen, who, I feel like there's so many circumstances where, the media praises people for, they think that they're just wonderful people, and they're like, oh my God, this guy is just amazing, right? People love this guy. He's a great leader, great teammate, yada, yada, yada. And then so many times in the locker room and, the way guys on the team know him that's not the case. You saw with the Chris Paul thing. People always think that Chris Paul is a great leader, great teammate. And then Rajon Rondo came out and said that, look, people that play with him actually think this guy is terrible, right? That's not the case with Connor McQueen. And so Connor McQueen is the exact same dude that the media thinks he is, right? Wonderful dude to be around, man. Great dude, great teammate. And so, yeah, those two guys, just two guys specifically that stand out to me in terms of developing team culture and what it means to be a part of a college football team. So, let's see. Gladiator 96 wanted to know, what is your take on secondary performance this year? What is their biggest weakness? And how much better can it be next year with the influx of talent? Man, I think the biggest weakness with the secondary is they're just not making plays right now. I mean, we have a lot of talented guys, I feel like, and I've got to see them personally, so I might be a little bit biased, but a lot of talented guys over there, they just haven't made plays. In the position a lot of times to make plays, just not getting their head around to make plays. And I don't know if that's a lack of confidence in their ability to make plays or just they're just not making them. But influx of talent, like you said, I want to have a chance. I want to look at the recruiting class a little bit more, and so I can talk about this a little bit more. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at the recruiting class, and next podcast I'm going to get on. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. I might do an episode that's just based off recruiting, man. That'll be cool. Let's see. All right. From Bucky's Nuggets, when you switch positions from safety, were you hoping for linebacker or DN from a personal standpoint? Let me just say this, man. A lot of coaches were recruiting me for different positions, okay? A lot of coaches were recruiting me for linebacker, and that was just my worst fear for some reason coming out of high school because I felt like it was demeaning to me. I was a safety, and I wanted to be a safety, but I was 6'3" and like 200 pounds. I was like, man, I just do not want to move down to linebacker because I thought it was an insult. I thought people were saying if you move to linebacker, you can't play safety. But let me just say that, man, if I could do anything differently in my football career, and I don't want to say I regret it because I don't regret anything, but if I could do anything differently, I would go back and I would switch to defensive end or linebacker earlier. Okay? And now the reason I say that because it was a lot more fun to play and it was a lot less on my knees. Now my knee, I'm 50 years old with my knees right now, and if I could have, just moved closer to the line of scrimmage to save a little bit of that torque and twisting and turning and all that, man, I would have did it a lot earlier. But, yeah, I was hoping for a linebacker because I just didn't want to play defensive end at the time. Got the linebacker for a little bit, moved to defensive end, and I fell in love with it, man. It was so much fun. Like I said, I wish I'd have did it earlier. Let's see. Skip that question. Any luck setting up with Jay Lane by Irish Texas Aggie? Jay, man, I'm trying to set it up. I told the dude, I tweeted at Javorsky Lane. He's talking crazy about the program. I tweeted at Javorsky. I said, look, Javorsky, come on the podcast, man. We can talk about, whatever you got on your mind. We can discuss it. We can debate it. We can do whatever you want. I hit him. He hit me right back like 3 minutes later. He's like, look, man, send me a DM with the information. I'll come on the podcast. Send me a DM with your information. I'm going to come on the podcast. And I was like, cool. The dude don't follow me. He doesn't follow me, so how am I going to send him a DM? And, I don't know if he understands that or he's new to Twitter or whatever it is. But, I'm trying to set it up. Once he follows me back, I'll DM him. But, until then, whatever. All right, let's see. All right, then last question comes from Texas Aggie for Christ. He said, thanks for opening up. What was your favorite high school game memory as a player? Let me see. My favorite high school game memory as a player. Okay, so my sophomore year in the playoffs, first round, or no, second round. Yeah, second round. What was the first round? I don't remember. Okay, first round of the playoff my sophomore year of high school. We're playing against Ennis. My boy James Lockhart over there, Ennis, shout out my guy. We're playing against Ennis in the playoffs. Really, really big time game. My first playoff experience as a player, whole different vibe around it, and we had it was just a really, really cool game. So I say the fact that we won that game, and so the end of the game and how we won, that was definitely my favorite memory of high school as a player. Let's see. Would you talk us through the sequence of events for the players on a Saturday home game? Meetings at Bright, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so say there's an afternoon game. You're typically waking up in the morning, getting some breakfast. We used to have a team chapel. And so what the team chapel was, we go in there, had a speaker or whatever. It's not required, but, guys can go to it if they want to. So we went in there to the team chapel. Once you do that, you usually have a little bit of time to break and, just a little bit of time to break and get some lunch. So you get some lunch, probably meet with your coaches for a little bit. Meet the coaches for 15, 20 minutes. And then you have like a 2-hour window where you can go take a nap up in your room. So a lot of guys use that to visit with family. A lot of guys go up to the room and take a nap. I used to use it to watch college football. So I used to go up to the room, watch some college football games, which ones are on early in the day, watch the games, and probably take a nap. Come back down, and then you're meeting with the coaches again. You're usually watching some film and walking through responsibilities. So they have about a stream of about 20 plays that they put up on the big screen. And they break you up by position. So, the defensive ends are over here, defensive tackles are right here, and linebackers are right here. So they put the play up, and everybody in the room was calling out their responsibility. This is to check and make sure you guys know what's going on. So we do that for about 20 plays. After that, we bust over to the stadium. So once you get to the stadium, we have the spirit walk, obviously, talk to all the fans, dap people up, take some pictures, smile, cheese, whatever. So we do that, and then we go into mental check. And so the mental check, as soon as you get into the stadium, hold on one second. As soon as you get in to the locker room, actually, you put your stuff down, go in for the mental check in the auditorium. And so you go in and basically you watch like a highlight video. A couple people get up and stand up and talk, and you're getting hype. This is where you're getting hype for the game. And after that, you go to the locker room, you get dressed, and then it's pregame. You go out there and you stretching or whatever. And, yeah, man, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Looking forward to the podcast, man. I appreciate it. Okay, cool, man. I appreciate that support, man. That definitely means a lot. Okay, so this is also anonymous. Did your injuries and time away from the game force you to understand and know Justin Dunn the person and man and not just the football player? Or have you always had a sense of who you were away from the game? Okay, let me just first off start right there and say that, definitely I'm a big advocate for running into adversity, man. And if I didn't run into that early on, maybe I would have never found out who I actually was. And, I tell the story about that, and I say that being injured and running into that adversity actually helped me discover myself. And so that was definitely big for me. I didn't always have a sense of who I was. I thought for so long that I was just the football player because, people identify you as that. And it feels good. I'm walking around and people are like, oh, man, yeah, you're the football player, Justin Dunn, huh? You're the one that got offers from here or there. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm walking around, my head up in the sky. Yeah, that's me. It feels good. And so, everybody wants to kind of be identified as that miniature celebrity, right? And I was doing that as well. So that identity was something I didn't develop until later on. Then last part of the question, what would you tell kids in high school now about finding their identity away from the game? That is a beautiful, beautiful question. I'm glad you asked me that too, man. So one of the biggest reasons I started this whole podcast was to spread, my message and voice to the world. If there was one message that I had to spread, it would be about finding your identity. Let's say I came on here and there was nothing else I could talk about besides one topic. It would be finding your identity outside of sports, or not even just sports. Let's take it a step farther, outside of whatever you're doing, because that applies to people that are working jobs that they're trapped in or whatever. That applies to people who are doing whatever. Finding an identity outside of that and identifying with yourself with something that's permanent. And so my message to guys in high school or college or whatever, no matter what you're in, is don't let yourself be defined by something temporary, okay? You have to realize that whatever you're doing is temporary. Sometimes it takes adversity. Sometimes it takes you just sitting down and looking yourself in the mirror and saying, look, I need to get my stuff together. Whatever it may be, man, people have to realize early on. And so my message to those guys in high school, man, do it now, because you don't want it to hit you at the last minute. You don't want it to hit you when it's too late, like that happened to me. It hit me early, but it also hit me when it was too late. And so you want to figure that out early on, man. It's my biggest thing, for sure. All right, that is the last question that I have, guys. So I appreciate you tuning in for that. I went a little bit longer than I expected. Sorry about that, Dalton. Dalton's in the back mad because it went a little bit longer. I apologize, man. Gotta get some lunch. I know I'm hungry too. But yeah, man, appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to continue to send in questions to the podcast page, man. We'll definitely get it on the show. Oh man, I almost forgot to. Hey, big shout out to the Van Vandals and number 46 AJ Hardy plays for that 5th grade, 6th grade Pee Wee team over there. I told my guy I would give him a shout out. So big shout out AJ Hardy, man. Keep doing your thing. I know you guys lost in the playoffs, and the original deal was I was gonna give you guys the shout out if you won. But I thought you deserved it regardless, man. So shout out to you, man. Keep working, keep grinding. There's no limit to where you can take it, man. Just keep grinding, man. Listen to your parents, for sure. But all right, guys, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe to the page, leave a comment, leave a rating and review on iTunes, man. We're trying to move this up. We're trying to build, trying to lay that first brick, man, and keep moving forward. You guys continue to support, man, and thank you so much. Leave a comment with any guest you'd like to hear on the show or any topic you'd like to hear discussed on the show, guys. That is it, man. Peace.